everybody. I'm John Horgan, and I'm the NDP candidate. I apologize, I'm a little sick, so I can't quite enunciate as well as I might like to. You'll notice that I'm just wearing normal clothes. Some of you might remember that we were given the option to dress up or make this a big fancy thing. I haven't chosen to do that because that's not what I'm about. As fun as it is to laugh at Ayn Rand and Christy Clark, honestly, Ayn Rand is kind of a joke candidate. And Christy Clark has some very interesting views. And it's really fun to entertain the idea and laugh at them. But what it comes down to is who you really want representing you. And that's somebody that's serious. I can get you what you need. I'm focused on what people want. Our main concerns are education and healthcare and jobs, something that in their past 15 years of power, the Liberals have not focused nearly enough on. In fact, they've reduced healthcare spending ridiculously, and we need to change that. So, when you vote, just think about who you really want to represent you as a class.
Hello, people of British Columbia. I am Ayn Rand. As a young Russian Jewish girl in the Soviet Union, I dreamed of freedom. In the February of 1917, I watched the flames of revolution burn through St. Petersburg. They burned bright, but the moment that the Reds took St. Petersburg, they took all the hope of Russia. My property, my freedom, my capital, but not my spirit, not my individuality. The current status quo of British Columbia restricts every citizen from truly pursuing their liberties, from taking on the responsibility of their own happiness, from using the rationality evident within their minds to pursue a life that is orderly, a life of creation, a life that spurs on the development of our economy. Within the government, there has been much debate about the different kinds of regulation that must be put in place to ensure that the economy grows. However, this regulation chokes at the economy. It grabs it by the neck and declares death to it. Once you decide to control something as powerful and bounding as the spirit of the free market, the spirit will die. The success of the individual is what spurs the success of the economy. And the success of the individual is the responsibility of the individual. No one else should, in efforts of self-sacrifice, take responsibility for that. Our taxes, your taxes individually, should not be going towards the health care of individuals who have not taken their own responsibility of their own health care. What does that sacrifice in giving this kind of universality towards the citizens? It sacrifices the true quality of healthcare that you could have instead, a true quality of education, and an quality of education that is spurred not by what the government deems is the price of this education, but what the contract between the teacher and the student is. My policy and philosophy of objective view of the world will make for a fair party that truly fulfills the real duty of the government, to fairly judge and maintain society and allow the people to do what they want and give them liberty as long as they do not infringe on the liberty of others. They must exercise their rational self-interest, all of us, and we will have the opportunity to succeed once we apply rationalism to a rational world. Like many citizens of British Columbia, I am an immigrant from Soviet Russia. Canada is a land of immigrants, driving themselves towards the freedom to conduct their life the way they choose. We have the right to private property. We have the right to private ownership. We have the right to make our own contracts of health and our own contracts of old age and our own contracts of education. Our freedom to pursue success is for our own self-interest is what makes us human and what makes Canada great.
Hello?
Objection.
Where's your notes? Oh, okay. Okay. Please be quiet. People, ladies and gentlemen of Social Studies 11, Studio 10. I am Christy Clark. You might also know me as Jonathan Harris on the streets. I'm here to talk to you about the Liberal Party and why you should vote for that in the upcoming premier election. Dang, I'd like you to stop being disruptive. First things first, I'd like to talk about the strengthening of the economy that I've done under the Liberal Party. I and the other Liberals of British Columbia have made British Columbia the strongest provincial economy in all of Canada. We're planning to we're planning to make British Columbia debt-free by 2020, which would be the first time in 55 years. We've strengthened the economy, leading people to get more jobs and more houses in an already very difficult market of British Columbia. If it wasn't for all the focus and dedication that BC Liberals have put into the economy, we'd be in a harder housing and job market than we already are. To be honest, I'd firstly like to address Horgan's policies. While the NDP's policies might be helpful long term, right now we are in debt. That's a fact. We can't make such long-term policies when we're not ready for them. Maybe once I'm elected and by 2020 when we're debt-free, we'll be in a better position to maybe take on a long-term commitment like that. But for now, we're just not ready for that. And I know this. I've been doing political positions in British Columbia for over a decade. Horgan has not even close to the level of experience. I mean, I appreciate a lot of the ideas going on, but Horgan's just not ready. I'd like to move on to some points about Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand talked about the laissez-faire free economy. I'm going to give you two examples. Both of them affected Jonathan Harris's life. One, Reagan's rampant deregulation and free market economical practices have led to the ginormous, hugely important 2008 crash. If Ayn Rand's voted in, and future Ayn Rand politicians are put in positions of power, more deregulation will happen, and that will lead to more economic disasters such as that. Another example, Vancouver's housing crisis is if we had more strict regulation that could be more balanced for immigrants and locals, then we wouldn't have this problem in the first place. If we continue to get rid of regulations for freedom, though it's actually just restricting the lower class, we'd be just amplifying these issues that the Liberal Party is already trying to deal with. Ayn Rand is completely ignoring the issue, is like not focusing on the issues that are happening in British Columbia, and needs to get back down to earth, in my opinion. More things that the Liberal Party would do if we're elected. One, we plan to re-up the school budget, though because of previous cuts, which were regrettable. We might up the minimum wage. I can't give you anything confirmed about this, but we will definitely do our best to up the minimum wage to boost the middle and lower class. And we will also, just as a little extra fun thing, if Christy Clark is voted in as the premier for Social Studies 11 Studio 10, we'll throw a small celebration involving some sort of baked good and some sort of chips in case any of y'all are interested. That is all. Thank you for listening. I'm Christy Clark. Make sure to vote. I have a question. Do you have any response to the comments I made about how your laissez-faire economic policies would cause even for more disasters in the economy, like we already had with 2008 in the Vancouver housing bubble?
First of all, I'd like to say that despite your claims that somehow BC's economy has been prospering under your
I didn't
thumb.
say prospering, I said improving.
has been greatly improving under your thumb. Why does the 2013 article from the CBC say that BC has the highest child poverty rate in Canada?
That's completely irrelevant. I'd like you to talk about your actual policies instead of dodging it like you usually have in the past. I'd like to know your actual opinions instead of you trying to bring us to other subjects. While it is a disaster that children are suffering poverty, we are doing our best to fix that. And I'd like you to focus on the question that I asked you. Why is it that in previous times that we've had mass deregulation like you proposed, there have been huge economic downsides? Why? I'd like a real answer here.
Well, let's look at the policy of Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan's deregulation of the American economy was not simply a deregulation. He was controlled by corporations. The government was not uninvolved with corporations. It was deeply involved. Yeah, I have a question for Clark Kent of the Daily Planet.
He's not here.
I guess I'm just gonna have to settle for Christy Clark, huh? Okay, so my question is an echo of my previous one. Why is currently Canada's BC's child poverty rate the highest in Canada? Why are 1 in 5 children in Canada impoverished, in BC impoverished? Why is the child poverty rate so many percentage points above that of Canada's?
Well, the real root issue that's causing this is the housing crisis. Okay, yes, while that is a problem, BC still does have the strongest economy in Canada. There are bad parts, and we are trying to patch that up. The reason these kids are impoverished is because there's no homes for them. And that's something that we're desperately trying to fix. And I don't think that your policies would actually address that or fix it at all.
I have a question for Ms. Clark.
At all.
Why is it that you feel the need to bribe the voters so that they would actually vote for?
I wouldn't bribe them. I would assume that any party would be willing to throw a gesture of gratefulness to the voters for supporting them. I mean, I don't see why it's wrong. I mean, I assume that other parties would also follow suit and do the same. I don't see what's wrong with that.
We are in debt, is that right?
Yes.
So why would you feel the need to spend?
I would spend it out of my own pocket.
Oh, and you would not spend that money on more useful things for the people.
Well,
like cookies.
why don't you spend your money on more useful thing?
Because I'm not as rich as you.
My personal financial situation is not an important part of BC's economy. I simply just try to make something more fun for the class, and I don't see what's wrong with anyone doing that. I know other candidates have done that, though I'm not going to bring that into this debate. And I know that many people here have supported other candidates doing that, though that's a federal issue, and I'm not bringing that into this. Okay, Horgan. Do you think that British Columbia is in a strong enough position to do such long-term, short-term damaging policies that you proposed? I mean, the thing is while we are the strongest economy in BC, we still are in debt. I think our focus should be getting out of debt first before making such long-term, short-term damaging policies like you proposed, as I said earlier. Any response?
What we need to focus on more than getting rid of our debt in the short term is making the people of BC comfortable and putting them in a good living environment. What do we care if the government has a little debt if our people are living in poverty?
Okay, Christy Clark, considering your policy of repaying the provincial debt by 2020, how do you expect to gain the capital needed to increase the funding of the VSP and other school systems?
Well, because of the strengths in the economy that we've given over time, I do expect the economy to continue growing if I'm voted in. And because of that, if a growing economy means there's more money flowing, and therefore there's more taxes going to the government. That's the simple logic. So because of us growing the economy, we would have more capital. So since there's more money flowing, more of it's being taxed, so we would have the capital to both increase school funds and pay off debt. This has happened previously. We have been paying off debt.
How would you explain the more than $277,000 you've received in party payments in addition to your $195,000 salary each year. How are those calculated? Your party has at no point explained. And that seems rather suspicious to me.
I'm not the one in charge of my paycheck. You should be asking that to the people who are paying me.
So you just take this money with no question?
Well, no. If your boss gave you a paycheck, would you? Listen. I trust in the Liberal Party and that they're allocating their money correctly. If you have questions for higher ups in the Liberal Party, you should ask them. You can send a Gmail. Go ahead. But that's not something that I'm in control of. So that's. Question for Horgan. With all this money that you'll be spending with all the money that we will be leaking short term for your long-term policies, you've said that this is correct? Because last time you said that though it might hurt short term, it will help long term. With the money we'll be bleeding short term, how will we pay the veterans who are being paid too low, and how will we pay the wildlife organizations that are also not being paid enough right now? How would that happen? I just don't see how it's feasible.
We can reallocate the money from things that are going to, for example, your ridiculously large paycheck.
Mr. Horgan?
Got him.
Many people in BC consider that private school education offers them more resources and a better quality education. How would you get the public school education system to be anywhere close to that quality of education? And where would you get the teachers that have been trained, for example, in English classes to do anything other than analyze writing on the surface level through the vocabulary, as it is currently happening in the Canadian education system?
Well, a big difference between private schools and public schools at the moment is, frankly, just the budget. With a bigger budget for public schools, we can hire more teachers, pay for more resources, and bring the public schools at least closer to the standard of private schools. And it's, yeah. Ms. Clark.
Again? You used all three on me. What did I do?
Your paycheck for her. Quite frankly, I'm not going to ask Ayn Rand because I don't
Oh,
think
it's a joke.
anyone in
I'm
their
just
right
having
mind would
fun.
vote for her.
Objection.
Why would you object to that, Daniel?
How?
Please, ask the question.
You support the public school system and you want to improve it and say that it's a perfectly valid form of education, yet your son goes to private school. Would you like to explain that to me?
Yes. Well, St. George's is just a very close, convenient place for him to go. And I felt that... Wait, let me finish. Yeah, I know, but it's convenient for him to be like... Can I finish? Okay, one, my personal life should not matter as much as my policies. And secondly, even though you do want to pick up this fight, I'll answer. I feel that a big part of the problems with the education system is students not having enough choice. So I gave my son the choice, and he chose St. George's. While I personally don't agree with this, because go public schools, I respect people and their opinions, so I wouldn't do it. So I'd like to ask Horgan a question. What did you do about the awful fentanyl crisis that is spreading around and killing tons of people? It's really a disaster. Do you have any plans about stopping it?
Well, we need to have a discussion about what causes so many people to become addicted to fentanyl. I mean, we know the scientific reasons for the most part, but it's more of a social thing on the one hand. Also, I mean, I feel like with a better healthcare system, all of this would be a much smaller problem because people could actually get the treatment that they need.
Okay, Christy, I hear that you attend the Christchurch Cathedral in downtown Vancouver, one of the parishes of the Anglican Church of Canada. The Anglican Church of Canada has been long caught up in controversies considering its contention over whether or not to give same-sex blessings and whether they were interpreting the Bible literally or metaphorically. How could your association with
My bad.
a case of the obvious maturity shown by the Liberal Party?
What? Would you like to go in depth on that?
No, it's not my time to elaborate. It's your time to answer a question. I want to ask, how could you continue to associate with a church that is currently battling over whether or not to even give people in same-sex relationships blessings if you are to be governing a province full of people of different orientations, full of people who you do not have the right to delve into their personal lives of?
Well, first off, I do support same-sex marriages and same-sex rights in terms of relationships. I think that it is a problem that of all the discrimination that goes against same-sex couples or people or anyone in the LGBTQ plus community. But my personal faith should not be any of your business. And even though the general bigger picture Anglican Church might have that, the personal church, I would like you to find an instant of the personal church I go to having scandals like that. Like the personal, like the church, the building, not the church, the organization.
I'd like to go back to Ms. Clark again. How can you say that there isn't a huge problem with our healthcare system when you and your party are putting children in a mental health crisis facing a 200-day wait?
Well, the fact is that we did not expect as many children to have mental health problems as different. Can you please not laugh at this? This is a serious issue.
20% child poverty rate.
Obviously, you don't think it's a serious issue.
I'm the only one here who wasn't laughing and being serious about this. Excuse me.
18% child poverty rate.
This is Iran. Please stop. Back to what I was saying. There's been a huge influx of children suffering from mental health issues. We did not expect this, and thus there was a big wait. Why? But when healthcare is upped, this will be something that will be fixed, and we will try our very best to reduce this ridiculous wait that I do agree is a problem.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, can we have a round? No, you can't. Sorry. Can we have a round of applause for our candidates, please?